Into week 2 of the longevity program. Week 1 is done. Definitely back to clean eating, definitely back to a really great routine that I'll share over the coming weeks and months that's, I think, really going to help me. Week 2. Now I'm going to kick off week 2 with a 3-day fast, and I'm looking for a couple of things in the 3-day fast. One of the first things, the testing showed that my body fat percentage over the past 4 years has gone up by about 50%. So it's not bad, but it certainly can be better. And a 3-day fast is going to, I hope, help kickstart, eliminate some of that unnecessary fat. But that's just a cosmetic thing. It could get worse, but at the moment not too bad. What I really want to do in this 3-day fast is give my body a break from insulin production. And one of the other concerning things for me out of the test was my blood glucose level. And my doctor actually said, look, were you fasting before you took that test? And I said, yes, I was. And he said, well, look, that result that you got, it's not too bad, and at the same time, it could be, if it is a prolonged result, into the pre-diabetic range. And I'm not happy about that at all. That is not where I want to be. So one of the things that I've read in the literature, and there's a great book that I'll reference a lot, The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Fung. And one of the things that this literature says is that in fasting I should be able to reduce my insulin levels and give my pancreas a bit of a break, which I really need to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that plays out. There are some other benefits that I'll wrap up at the end, but here it is: 3 days fasting. I'm going to chronicle my journey along the way. I think there is going to be some challenges. I certainly love to eat, so that will be a little bit of a challenge for me. And obviously I've got to keep working, and I want to keep working out as well. So we'll see how we go. I'll share my experiences along the way, and then we'll wrap it up at the end. I've decided that I want to get the best possible measurements on how that 3-day fast is going. So I bought myself a blood ketone test. So we've got a Life Smart IT tester. Lancet up to the highest level that I can possibly go for pricking. At least I've got over the fear of being pricked by the Lancet. In it goes. Done. Off. Now that's giving a little bit of blood, which is great. So the first little drop I'll take off. Okay. Now, get that blood going. Okay. Kicking in, getting the right channel. Channel is 810, which is correct. On an angle. In.
.2
millimolar. There you go. That's my first ever ketone test. I know you couldn't tell it was my first ever with all of the stuff here in front of me, but 0.2. So that's night 1, start a fast. I'll be doing a test every day to see how my ketones go, because ultimately, with my ketones increasing, the reading that I've done is that should increase my ability to burn fat, as opposed to the sugar that's easily and readily available and burnt by insulin. So let's see how we go. Well, here I am, ready to have a wonderful, delicious, scrummy dinner of nothing. But I will have a ketone test. Today is the end of my first day of fasting. And it was an interesting day, there's no doubt about it. Let's see what happened. Well, I started off, ate nothing. I did a really good exercise session actually, about 45 minutes of good cardio work, which was really good. Hopefully that got things pumping. Then went to work. Through the middle of the day was pretty hard on day 1, I've got to say. And then it got better. They do say it comes in waves, and it certainly did. And then probably the hardest part of tonight was sitting there watching as my kids enjoyed a really yummy spaghetti meal, and I couldn't have any of it. But that's okay. Let's see how we've gone. Let's give the ketone test a crack. I've set everything up, so there we go. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. There's a bit of blood coming through. So let's see the moment of truth. Let's get some ketone reading. .6. Just a little bit of a difference. Sheesh. So the results are in 1.6. Now bear in mind that yesterday night when I did my first test, I was at a 0.2. So that's an 8-fold increase in my ketone levels in just 24 hours. That kind of blows me away. It'll be really interesting to see what tomorrow brings. Day 2 of the fast. Bring it on. Whoa, end of day 2 fasting, and it has been both okay and at times challenging. Definitely hunger comes in waves. Probably the hardest thing that I had to face today was dinner with my family, as they sat there and happily ate their meal. I sat there and smelt it and just felt, I would love to finish this fast a day early, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit through to the 3 days. So I have just done the blood test, and it's come through at a pretty cool 3.6 millimoles per litre of ketones. So that's not bad. That's definitely showing that my body is kicking in. I woke up this morning momentarily feeling a little tired, but after getting into my second workout, so I did a workout yesterday, did a workout this morning. This morning was more weights based, yesterday was more cardio based. Tomorrow morning I'm going to do another cardio based exercise regime. It's called park training. It's out in the open, and we'll see how we go. But 3.6, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, that's it. 72 hours of fasting done. So, one little thing left. That's the end result. And if you can't see it, it's 4.5 on the ketone count. So that is a 2,250% increase on the original reading taken at the start of the fast. OMG, that is a bit of a difference. So yeah, fasting works. It increases your ketones. I certainly feel overall pretty good. I've really enjoyed it, and I'll look to do this, I would say, once a quarter. And I'll be wrapping it up with also some 24-hour fasts, some 16/8 through the week as well. So really just mixing it up and seeing how my body reacts. So that's it. 3-day fasting is done. There was so much that I learned in that 3-day fast. Probably the biggest thing that I learned is that I'm actually really able to do it. And if you're wondering, can I fast over a number of days? I would say the answer is yes. Now, I had a colleague, by the way, who joined me on this fast. I've done intermittent fasting. I've done some 24-hour fasting. I've even done one 3-day fast before. My colleague had never done any fasting whatsoever. I'm talking donut, 0 hours fasting. And he kicked it off with a 3-day fast with me and absolutely nailed it. So if you're wondering, can I do a fast? The answer I would suggest is yes. And there were some really interesting stats with my bloods as well. So I might take you through, at the end of each of the weeks, I'm journaling and I'm writing down some of the key learnings. And so I thought you might be interested to hear some of the key learnings and sort of why I did this 3-day fast and what came out of the 3-day fast. In the reading, and I mentioned once again Dr. Fung's book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, and that was really a big reference book for me, amongst other reading and blogs and so on that I've looked at and listened to. But that was a major reference point if you were ever looking for something to dig a little deeper in this space. But the things that I really wanted to achieve out of this fast was, one, to lower my insulin levels. As I mentioned, I wanted to give my pancreas a bit of a break from constantly producing that insulin, and to lower my blood sugar, because you'll remember that my doctor said to me last week in my testing results that my blood sugar was a tad high and I needed to bring that down. I wanted to burn fat without reducing my basal metabolic rate. Now, what's that? Basically, it's all the energy that you needed to burn to just exist, and that can your basal metabolic rate can go down if you do various types of dieting, but in fasting it's not meant to go down, and I don't think it did. There's other tests that I would need to do to check that out though. I wanted to, and this one I can't check into unless I do some other testing, I'm pretty sure. I wanted to clean up the broken down and aged damaged cells through a thing called cellular autophagy. And the easiest way that I would describe that is kind of like defragging an old computer. So you get these old and aged and broken down cells that build up in your body, and your body naturally says, well, I've got to get some energy, and therefore I'll use these cells. It's a very smart thing, this body. I'll use these cells rather than your good cells to give me the energy that I need. And in the meantime, and in the process, actually give you a little bit of a spring clean as well. So I was chasing that. I wanted to naturally increase my growth hormone. Now, just out of interest, and once again, this is in Dr. Fung's book, in a 5-day fasting study, now I obviously didn't do 5 days, so I did 3, but in that study, growth hormone, so naturally occurring growth hormone, almost doubled. Now, if I can get even a 50% increase in growth hormone to help me with the various workouts that I do, fantastic. So I was chasing that. I do want to help myself moving into the future, and there's a bit of a background behind this which I might share at another time, but I do want to avoid Alzheimer's. And then finally, I want to avoid type 2 diabetes and all the nasty crap that brings along. So that was what I was chasing. That was why I was going through the 3-day fast. And really interestingly, I want to share with you some of the stats that I reviewed and some of the observations that I made as I went through this fast. So the first one, as I mentioned, the observation that I first made was that I can absolutely do this. I was definitely ready to enjoy a meal after the 3 days. If I needed to push through, I think I could easily have pushed through into the 4th day, but I didn't want to. I wanted to have that meal at the end of day 3, and it was super enjoyable. The fasting definitely lowered my blood sugar levels. So my testing pre-fast for blood sugars was, it came out at that 5.6 that I mentioned the doctor was not so happy about. He did say that, look, anything over 5.4 is into what he would call a danger zone. Anything 7 and above is seen as diabetic, so I'm not there yet, but not where I want to be. That said, day 3 into the fast, and my blood sugar level was down to 4. So I was really, really happy with that. And it's since come back to about 5.1, so down below where that 5.4 mark. So I'm happy with how that's tracking, and I'm learning more and more about that blood sugar, which I'll probably share in coming posts. I wanted to lose weight and look leaner, and in doing that, my commencing weight was 87 kilos, and my ending weight was 85.1 kilos. So that was a loss of 1.9 kilos. Now, let's be clear, a lot of that was water weight, and that's well written in all of the research that you would see if you look into fasting. That's it. 3 days later, I'm back to 86.3 for the last 2 days. So I think the water weight's come back in again, and it looks like I've probably lost about 700 grams. Now, bear in mind that I don't feel that I have masses to lose. I just want to tweak and improve and have a gradual and sustainable level of weight loss and leanness to myself and to my body. So I'm really happy with that. 700 grams, that's a great start, because this is a long race. It's not a sprint, and so I'm really happy with how that's gone. My ketones, and that was another thing I was interested in seeing. My ketones definitely ramped up. I definitely went into ketosis, so I moved past just using the glycogen in my providing energy, and I moved into burning fat. And I went from 0.2 ketones on day 1, if you remember, through to 4.5. That was a 2,250% increase in ketones, which is kind of nuts. I was able to maintain physical activity through the 3 days. I've got to say, that last training day was hard. I definitely cramped up. I had some muscle pain ongoing into the following day. As did my wife, I've got to admit, and some of my friends at the gym. But I think mine was probably worse than it would normally be. I did use some electrolytes, so I had 2 salts that I was using, 1 teaspoon of each through the day in some water. So one of the electrolytes was salt and a bit of sodium chloride and a bit of liquid magnesium, and the other one was just food grade Epsom salts. So I had a teaspoon of both of those, but it looks like that still didn't keep me from having some pains in day 3 when I worked out. Really interestingly, and I've done a little bit of reading on this afterwards, and it confirms that this certainly can happen. But really interestingly, my body, maybe you would say not surprisingly, had to work to make this happen. So over the 3 days, my resting heart rate, now this was really interesting, my resting heart rate progressively elevated from the average of about 57 to about 65. And then it returned to, in subsequent days, so back 3 days, 3 days later, it's back to about 55. So it's come back lower, and I'll be interested to see whether that maintains. My heart rate variability, you would say that's a measure of your ability and your readiness to get going, to really put yourself through your paces. That crashed, so it normally sits around about low 80s, call it 80 to 82. That crashed to 54. And then progressively it's come back up, and it's back up at about that 80 mark again 3 days later. So my body definitely had to work as we went through. So all in all, I would say that my experience backed up the research that I'd done, and my body followed what's been reported in that research. So I was really happy with it. I think what I will do on going through the year is I'll do a 3-day fast once a quarter. And then through the week, I'll do 16-8 intermittent fasting. So that's 16 hours not eating, 8 hours eating window. And that I'll do from lunch, so midday, through to about 8 p.m. each night. And I'll also throw in 1 or 2 24-hour fasts in a week as well. So really just mixing it up, keeping my body on its toes, and making sure that my pancreas has that break that it needs on producing that insulin. So that's it. 3-day fasting. My summary of how it went, I really enjoyed it. I think it's given me some great benefits. I'm going to incorporate it in the longevity program for me for this year. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully I gave you some information, some thoughts, and let's see how you might go in giving this a crack, or not, whatever it is that you want to do, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's your body, and I'll leave you to it. Have a great day. Thanks.